And how did we get here? I mean, when you talk about in the 60s, how the communists are infecting all things around the world, how they plan on doing it, how they plan on stirring up social disorder, was this them running their playbook, or was this something that also happened organically, or is this something that is going to potentially infect any individualist society or capitalist society?
A very profound question, because one is tempted to say it's always going to affect a individualist society, because it always has, or at least in the lifespan that we've seen collectivism mature. It's a relatively new phenomenon, actually, in history. But so we say it always has, so therefore it always will. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think it always has to. It's only because the victims are not aware of the strategies and tactics being used against them. I don't know how to play tennis, but I understand that if your opponent has a good, strong serve, and he can hit the ball in a certain way that it spins and bounces and goes sideways, then you better learn how to counter that serve and anticipate it, or you're going to lose the game every time. So it's in that kind of a fashion. We know now what these people do. We know what their serves are. We know what their tricks are, their strategies, and we better study them hard so that we don't fall for them or be fooled by them again and again and again. So I think the answer to that question is that it's not inevitable. It's inevitable only so long as we don't take an interest in what's going on and decide to fight back, which seems to be the pattern. Now, the next question is, well, why is that? And I think the answer was in the word you used, that you said the communists were infecting society. It's a good word, because it is something that's not natural, and it does infect and get into the healthy tissue, and it can weaken the tissue and possibly even kill it if you don't get rid of it. So one of the favorite tactics of communism, or I should say of Leninism, because that's what Lenin taught, is to infect society, not to attack it from the outside with guns and bayonets, but to infect it from the inside by infiltrating into the power centers of society and leading people through rational arguments, or supposedly rational arguments, on behalf of collectivism, such as from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. These are attacks on the mind, not against the body. So Lenin made that very clear. He said, we have to go into all of the power centers of society. We have to go into the political parties, the church organizations, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, any organization where people gather together and have leaders and follow their leaders. We have to make sure that we are or can influence the leaders of those organizations. That gives us that multiplying power of a few being able to lead the many, because they'll never have enough leaders if you have to lead one-on-one. They prefer to lead one on 100 or one on 1,000 or one on 100,000. That's the way they work. And there's nothing wrong with that, actually, because that's how society works. But the enemies of freedom have studied that phenomenon very carefully, and they've mastered it, and they teach courses on it. It's like taking a course in advertising. There are certain tricks you use. You could trick people's minds and get them to want to buy that hamburger, even though they're vegetarians. Now all of a sudden they got to buy that hamburger because you've shown them the picture, and you've got some pretty girl smiling as she's eating the hamburger, and you want to be there, or whatever it is. They play on the mind. And so that's how the communists and others, not just the communists, but others, are able to what's the word I'm looking for, amplify their effect, not one-on-one, but one against 10 or one against 1,000, by controlling the power centers and the groups to which people belong. There's one other aspect that comes to mind. I think I'd like to jump the track to it before I forget it, because I think it's very important, Brian. Back in that day, we were properly concerned about communism. But I wasn't yet aware of this thing called collectivism. To me, it was we had America, we had Russia, we had China, we had different countries, and we had freedom, we had tyranny, and we had communism, we had Americanism, and that was it. Labels were good enough. I didn't realize until when I got into the study of communism, and I had immersed myself in all the socialist and Leninist literature, and then branched out and decided to look at Adolf Hitler's stuff. I read Mein Kampf, and then I started to read Mussolini's stuff, and all of the literature that came from the most prominent tyrants of the time. And I discovered that although they appeared on the surface to be opponents to each other, such as the Nazis fighting to the death against the communists in World War II, to the death. I mean, millions of people lost their lives in the fight between communism and fascism, Nazism. So we get the impression that those are opposites, all right? But they're not opposites, I discovered. Everything they believe, everything that Hitler wrote was in the Communist Manifesto, all of it. In fact, Hitler formed the National Socialist Party. That's what Nazi stands for, National Socialist Party. Hitler was a socialist, not a Nazi. He was a socialist, and he was proud of it. But he fought against the other socialists in Russia. Why? Because they disagreed on principle? No. Why did they fight? Over territory.
Right. Power.
Power. Who was going to be the top dog? That's all they were fighting for. And once I got that picture, all of a sudden, everything changed. Then I began to look more objectively around me, and I discovered pretty late in the game, unfortunately, that while we were fighting communism and concerned about that, we were accidentally or unknowingly creating the same thing in America. In the name of fighting communism, we were creating something just the same under the general concept of, well, if you're going to fight a dictatorship, you have to be a dictatorship, because dictators can move quickly without having to worry about constitutions. So if we want to be victorious against the dictator, we have to be a dictator too, so we can move as quickly. It was that kind of thinking. I thought, oh my gosh, and I was part of that. I thought that since communism was on the left, and Nazism or fascism was on the right, if you wanted to be against communism, you had to be on the right, because communism was on the left. And if you're on the right, well, that makes you a Nazi or a fascist, right? Wow, wait a minute. Is there no other choice? They didn't want us to have any other choice.
Right.
So no matter which side we were on, we were just on two wings on the same ugly bird called collectivism. It's all the same. And so once I got that idea, I could see that collectivism, or another name for communism, was being built in America in the name of fighting communism. And that changed my life. And that's become my driving motive ever since, is to get this one fact clearly understood by the populations of the world, because if they don't understand it, they're going to be stuck between choosing one or the other, thinking they have chosen opposites, but instead they've chosen exactly the same thing. If they think that Democrats and Republicans are against each other, just take a look at their voting history over the past 100 years. No matter who's in office, nothing really changes. And once you get that picture, your whole worldview changes.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy.
The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system. and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom.